Real mature, Tyler. Real mature.
ReTrekking episode, whatever.
15.
What's it called, Dylan?
Um,
I don't even remember.
I don't actually remember. I think it's like 1100.
Oh, yeah. It's just binary. Yeah.
The binary thing, yeah.
Give us a plot summary so we can get this over with.
Ooh, fun plot summary. Alright, plot summary. Here we go. The Enterprise docks at a Federation space station to undergo maintenance work. A group of technologically linked aliens known as the Binars are brought on board to help upgrade the ship's computer. The Binars are linked to a massive central computer back on their home planet. Riker reveals that he doesn't necessarily trust the Binars and leaves Wesley, for whatever reason, to watch them. He goes down to the holodeck and tries and upgrade the Binars installed, which involves a sultry holographic woman. Later on, Picard shows up, because why not? Meanwhile, Data and Geordi discover that the Enterprise core is leaking containment, and Data orders an evacuation only to discover it was a ruse by the Binars to steal the ship. Picard and Riker emerge from the holodeck to discover what happened. They teleport to the bridge and discover that the Binars were stealing the ship so they could essentially back up the giant computer on their homeworld to protect themselves from a star going supernova. But things didn't go according to plan, so Riker and Picard step in and finish the job for them, thus saving their race. They return to the space station and whoop-de-doop, all is well. I'd like to add that I literally wrote whoop-de-doop.
Good job.
Like, no joke. I am proud of myself.
I can't muster that much excitement. But if anyone listening, if your dream episode was to watch Picard and Riker give sexy stares to a holographic woman for half an hour, then this is the episode for you.
Hooray!
So congratulations.
Yeah, that was basically, that was the one of my two bads. It's just that little scene in the jazz joint, or whatever, it goes on way too goddamn
It's
long.
multiple scenes, and it just doesn't stop.
Well, like, especially like the scene before like Picard even shows up, it's like 10 minutes of just Riker hitting on this woman, and it's so pointless.
She's so real.
Yep. But
Let me play my bone. Like, I love that he calls it by an abbreviated name to try and be cool. He has all this fake swagger that just comes off so dorky.
Yeah, let's pull it back a little bit, though, and go back to the good. Did you have any good, Tyler? I'm guessing
No.
you probably didn't. Yeah, I only had two pretty quick ones, and the first one was, I actually thought that, for at least for like the first 5 or so minutes, the episode actually had a good sense of tension where, like, you know, there was mysterious things going on, and Riker wasn't trusting the aliens or whatever, and the ship was doing weird stuff, and it was like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting.
It's so badly done, though. Like, the Binars come onto the bridge, and then someone's like, "What's wrong, Riker?" And he's like, "I just don't trust them because I don't. Because we have to build tension now. So I will say that I don't trust them." And it's like, okay. It was just out of left field for me. It's like, all right, I guess that's the conflict this episode.
Yeah. And there was like a couple little things, like a few like weirdly exchanged like looks, and the ship losing, like one of the decks that Riker's on losing power at one point, which I was more referring to. But yeah, I guess when he basically just said, "I don't trust them," is kind of weird. But
And doesn't he leave Wesley in charge of the bridge too after that?
he basically leaves Wesley to watch them. I don't think he puts them in charge of the bridge.
He's like,
yeah, I guess technically he would be in charge of it, since for whatever reason at that point he's the only one up there. I guess because they needed to get everyone else out of the way for the repairs or maintenance work or whatever. But yeah, he's like the only one up there for most of the episode.
What's your other goods that we can get to trashing this thing?
My second good was that I'm not a fan of this episode by any means, but I felt like the second half of the episode is so much better paced. Like, it's not exactly like the most riveting thing ever, but just pacing wise, it's so much better than the first part of the episode.
Yeah, people are actually doing stuff instead of exchanging awkward sexual stares with a computer image.
Yep. So yeah, that was my other good, which kind of goes hand in hand with my second bad, but we'll get to that in a sec. What do you have to say, first off?
I keep thinking that the pacing can't get worse in this season, and I keep getting surprised. And it's kind of painful because I really love the show in its later seasons, even just season 2. is a lot better. I think 3 is where it really started to shine, from what I remember.
That seems to be the case with a lot of shows. Like, even just today, like, it's always like the third season where they really find, like, their footing of what they wanted.
And the Next Generation, it did revolutionize TV in a lot of ways and changed how it's paced and how it's done. So this show itself had to go through that of being an awkward 80s show to kind of establishing the standard for 90s TV. But until we get there, man, it's hard. Because, every episode gets slower and slower. The whole half of this episode, we're not kidding. Like, I checked the time the last time I watched it. Still, it's after 30 minutes in, and they're still sitting on the holodeck flirting with this computer chick.
Yeah, I might add that Tyler had to watch this episode twice, and he still barely remembers it. Like, it's partially because we put this recording off for quite a while because we were both so busy with real life stuff, but...
Well, it's also that once it loses my interest, I tend to do other things with it on in the background. I just couldn't make it just with it being the only thing I was focusing on. It's too slow. Just nothing happens.
Yeah, that first half of the episode, and that was my second bad, is that the first half of the episode is just, it's a plotting first half, because it starts out with, like, you know, them basically watching the Binars do their thing for a while. And then Riker goes down to the holodeck and creates this, what was it, like some jazz bar in New Orleans, I think?
Yeah, except he almost says Nolans.
Nolans. But it spends so much time on this particular scene that it's ridiculous. Like, my two bads kind of go hand in hand, because I said, like, the first half of the episode's plotting, and then, you know, the jazz joint thing goes on way too long, and that's particularly why. Because he spends a good, like, minute or two just, like, creating the audience. Like, he's just like, oh, no, more, less, more, less, more, less. It's like, do we need to see everything? I mean, really.
Yeah.
Just, what?
I have a feeling they had the last 20 minutes was the script, and then they caught the shooting and were like, oh, we gotta fill this up with crap.
You know, that was exactly my idea, was that, like, they had, like, the plot for the episode written out, like, they knew what they wanted to do, and then they realized they came up short and were just like, let's, you know, write a bunch of, like, filler scenes with Riker in the holodeck or something. Just eat up time.
And Picard, he has the face of, like, a 5-year-old every time there's something involving the holodeck. Where Riker goes up and says, you have to talk to her. It's like talking to a real person, and Picard lights up like, oh, boy! And it's just...
He lights up and sounds like Mickey Mouse?
Because every time the holodeck is a thing here, you just... it's hard to take any of it seriously, and I don't, so...
Well, it's just so weird, like, especially, like, coming into it from, like, where we are, like, because we've both watched so much Star Trek, the holodeck's kind of like, yeah, it's a thing, and at this point, like, it was still fairly new for the series, I think, because I'm not sure if the original series actually had anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I guess... on some level, like, it's partially because we've watched the whole series before, so, like, oh, look at this cool thing that they can create whatever they want. Like, it's just, like, whatever.
It's just the ridiculous level of giddiness that Picard takes me out of it.
That's the other part, is that they are a little too overzealous about being on.
Riker just sees it as, like, a vagina generator machine. Because he just...
EGM.
He's so creepy. Can we talk about how creepy he was?
Sure. Let's go into that, because we were talking about this a little bit, like, before we did this, but, like, when I was younger, I always remembered Riker actually being, like, one of the better characters in the show. Like, you know, he's that guy who will basically, like, loyal to the end and all that. And then in this first season, he's a creep all the time, and it's really just puts me off. I'm sitting here thinking, I remember actually liking you as a character. What the hell happened here?
If I was a woman sitting in a bar and Riker or like any dude came up and gave me that face that he makes at her when he first sees the finished hologram, I would run away.
Well, in all fairness, like, her whole purpose was to distract them, which I guess is something we should have added for. But yeah, her whole purpose is, like, she's there to distract them for some reason. I never really quite understood that, because it sounded like at first, you know, they could
have just had them evacuated with everyone else.
Well, because at first it sounds like, they were just distracting them so that, they wouldn't see what they were doing. But then at the end, it reveals that they were distracting them into staying on board the ship.
I guess so they could return it?
So that, if something went wrong, they were there to fix it.
Maybe it was so that they could just take the Enterprise back. Because the Bynars had no intention of stealing the ship permanently.
Yeah. Well, like, they specifically referenced that fact that, like, they were there because in case something went wrong. But
regardless, Riker is a total creep.
Oh, yeah, completely.
He keeps... I mean, he started in the show at the Harp Women thing, and he's just going downhill in creepiness.
Oh, yeah. Like, I nearly just lost it during that scene, and whatever episode that was.
We're going to be talking about it every episode that he's a creep in. But he just wants to, like, mate with everything that moves, and it's really strange.
He is seriously channeling, like, Shatner.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very Kirk-esque.
It's just really weird.
He was extra weird in this episode, too. There's that part... So, before the ship gets evacuated, people are leaving anyway for, like, shore leave or something, I think? Or they just have to get off the ship because the ship is getting worked on. And a bunch of the supporting characters are going to play Parisi Squares, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And they have these weird costumes on and everything. And then Worf's like, we'll win, or whatever. And then Riker, I don't remember what the exact line was, but he was like, go and represent the Enterprise. And he does this weird hand signal thing that's like the Spock symbol, but he like does it against Worf's arm. Like some sort of weird gang sign thing, and I lost my mind. I was laughing so hard.
I don't barely even remember that.
I'm gonna find it and put it in the beginning of this.
So if you've listened this far, you've probably already seen it. If Tyler remembered to do that, so.
Yeah, or I'll put it right here. I don't know. I can put it wherever I want. I have the power.
Tyler has the power. Beware.
But it was just so. There's so much weird stuff going on in this show right now. Yeah, he does this like gang sign thing almost. It's like go for the Enterprise and win your game, and he does it. And all the like fake swagger that he has is really bothering me, as I've told you outside of this.
Yeah, like I'm just really bothered. Yeah, I'm really bothered by his character too, because like I said, I remember him actually being one of the better characters on the show.
I'm surprised he didn't try to hit on the Bynars.
God.
Yeah. If the Bynars were even remotely more feminine, he would have been there. Like, yeah. They did really badly with writing his character. I assume it's the writers.
Yeah, I assume it's mostly on the writer's part, just because, like...
Because Frakes wrote a lot of stuff later on, and Riker was always much more balanced in that.
Yeah.
Of just
like, he was still always kind of like, they tried to make him, the charisma machine.
Which he's not.
But it's not nearly as, like, ridiculous as it is in the early episodes.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to bring that up, his little gang sign flash. It was hilarious.
I didn't even really remember that. I think I had kind of checked out during that bit, because that was, like, 15 minutes in and nothing had happened.
It was just the arbitrary, here's what the supporting characters will be doing, so that you don't see them. I don't even know why Worf is in the show at this point. He hasn't done anything in the entire show. He
acts like an idiot. It's really weird.
Let's suicide charge! Yeah. He's just there in the background and hasn't done nothing. I'm kind of surprised he was even in the show, and they didn't just introduce him later on when he was going to be a main character. But whatever. That's all I have to say about the episode. It's boring and bad, and Riker's a creep.
You have no more bads to say?
Riker being a creep is the main one, and then how boring it is.
Yep. That's basically my two. I did have one silly, though, and that was just because, like, at the beginning of the episode, there's this minute-long docking scene.
Oh, God.
And all it did was remind me of how in the very first episode they have the saucer separation thing. And it's just like... and it's just overly long and absolutely pointless. But at the beginning of this episode, like, the very beginning, it's like, blah, 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 we're doing this. And then it's this minute-long scene of Riker being like, you can go in there, engage the clamp, whatever. And it just goes on for a minute, and then the parents are like, good job, number one. It's like, why did I watch this?
Was that
Like,
the
why
cold
is
open,
this
or was that after?
That's like the cold open, yeah. It's like the very, very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, all the cold opens so far have no... Like, usually they leave you off with a point of interest before the theme rolls, but it's a lot of times just been like, alright, we're here now, roll the credits. Or theme.
Like, I think it went further than that. Like, I think they at least first introduced the binars before they actually did the credit sequence, but I honestly don't remember. I just remember in the very beginning just sitting there going, why did we have to see this?
I think their gratuitous docking was another symptom of the fact that they probably had like a 2-page script and then realized they needed more material.
Yeah. That's really what I think it all comes down to for this episode is it feels like they just didn't have enough to fill out, the 44, 45 minutes that, an hour like television show plays for. And so they just started writing a whole bunch of random stuff. Had Riker play his trombone or his bone.
Just jamming on the bone, man. Because he's so cool. He knows the lingo. Because if there's something that needs lingo, it's jazz music.
Yep.
Yeah. I could go on about Riker forever. Yeah. All the little things that he does just piss me off.
Well, there's a lot of just weird things, from most of the characters in this episode. It's funny, we never even really talked about Data and what he was doing in this whole thing.
What was he doing?
He was trying to be creative, I guess, so he was, painting.
Oh, yeah.
It was just mildly interesting little bit that just does not get any attention.
Yeah, because then the crisis starts.
Creative. And then the next time you see him, he's interrupted and they have to go evacuate the ship because containment is leaking or whatever.
Containment. Well, yeah, I don't have much else to say. There's not much else to talk about besides how dumb Riker is so far.
Yeah. There are, a couple of things about the end that I just thought was weird. Or were weird. My grammar is so good today. But specifically, there's the password that they have to get, which is, of course, the title of the episode. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, it's written in such a way that I don't understand how people are actually supposed to figure it out unless they were, paying razor-sharp attention. Because the whole point of the password is that their names are, are binary, so, because they are, in pairs, so, one would be 10 and the other would be 01. Well, apparently, the password for this file thing that they had to upload at the very end was, the names of the 4 binar that were lying, unconscious on the bridge. But they don't really, make it clear. Picard just kind of goes, do you think it would be that simple? I don't know, let's try it. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, it is. And it's if you weren't paying, any attention for the first, 5 minutes of the episode, you'd be like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Because if we didn't, I guess it was you explained it in the plot summary, but yeah, the Binar get to their home planet and have to upload a thing, correct?
Yeah, it's because they back up their entire computer to protect it, and then they just have to re-upload all the stuff, and then everything's fine.
Nothing's explained very well at all.
Yeah, and then the other thing is there's just the fact that they even acknowledge how stupid this whole episode is by being well, why didn't you just ask for help? It's yeah, why didn't you?
Well, they say because he might have said no, and then their immediate response would be all right, you're under arrest. You know?
It's just
that's not, you don't get to just steal the Federation flagship because you don't want to ask a question. I don't care what happened.
It was they acknowledge the fact that this plot is just completely stupid. It's why did you just ask her? We were afraid you'd say no. Oh, that's funny. You're under arrest, bitch.
Maybe they were just in the writer's room and they needed a lot more scripts, because I know a lot of the first few episodes were recycled from the original series, the Phase 2 scripts that were never used. And so they had ideas to start, and maybe this is the point of the show where they had to start writing new stuff, largely new stuff, and they were just sitting there stuck, and they're okay, they're gonna steal the ship, and then it'll be okay. And that was all they had.
Yeah.
Everything we bring up just drives that home more, that they were just and I don't get how they could spend 3 minutes with Riker creating the holographic temptress that he flirts with for half an hour, but then they can't use a few minutes to explain what the hell's going on at the end. You know?
Yeah, because they really don't explain it very well. You're just meant to be like it's like one of those things where like they tried to be clever about certain things, but it just came across as so obscure that I almost didn't even catch it. I was like,
I was so
what?
checked out by that point too that even if they had been better, there's no way I was paying close enough attention anymore.
Yeah, but it's just they were trying to be like way too subtle with it.
Well,
And I appreciate subtlety in writing. Like, it's kind of nice when like they give you enough to figure out what's going on your own, and it makes you feel smart. But this was just like, I just didn't care. Like, literally, it was just one of those episodes where they just, it's just boring.
Well, we've been complaining for 20 minutes, so we should probably wrap it up.
Yep. I will say one interesting thing. This is actually the first episode where they reference the auto-destruct sequence, which is something I didn't even bring up.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, there's that, too.
Yeah, I don't know if Star Trek 3 had come out by this point. I'd assume so. Because this is like 87, isn't it?
Yeah.
Star Trek 3 must have come out before. Yeah, because that had it in it too. But yeah, in the TV show, I don't know if we had seen it. I don't know if it was in the original series or not. It's been a long time since I've watched more than a few of the best episodes of that. But it's a good thing to have in case you get taken over.
Yep.
I don't know. I thought it was a little bit much for what was. There's not really anything going on in the episode, and they're like, well, let's blow it up.
I can understand it in the sense that, like, the ship is in hostile hands. We have no idea how the hell we're going to get it back. But, yeah, it does seem like we're just going to go to, like, plan C or whatever right away. We're not even going to try plan A.
H. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess they couldn't communicate with them. I don't know. It's weird. But
this whole episode is just kind of sloppily written all over the place. Like, we've already gone over it. So I think this is probably a good place to end it. I just wanted to kind of throw that in there because it was one of those interesting things where it was the first time I noticed it even being like referenced.
I didn't look up anything for any interesting like director notes or whatever because I didn't care.
There's probably not any interesting directing notes. This is one of those episodes that it's not like uber terrible. It's just completely forgettable. So
yeah, it's kind of like it's not like Code of Honor. This episode's like watching the grass grow. It's not like some of them where it's been like the grass comes up and eats you. And
yes, that's a good whatever.
But yeah, we'll sign off. I'm gonna sign off.
You gonna rate this episode first?
Gonna rate it an IDGAF out of 10.
I'm gonna rate it. I don't even know what the hell just happened.
A 0-1 out of 10.
Sure,
Ooh.
why not? Oh,
that was the most enjoyment I got out of this episode. Was making that stupid, not even a joke. Bye, everybody. What's the next episode, Dylan?
I don't recall actually.
Oh man.
Hopefully, it's better than this. Piece of crap.
Yeah, tune in sometime for
tune
that.
in next time for stuff.
Everyone is listening better watch it in preparation so that you can listen to us. Goodbye.
Bye.